Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show for a friendly Friday. It is July the 25th. We're rolling live, and we had some, classic Friday delays. I went to go hit the start button, and everything crashed. It's my favorite thing that happens when we have Steve Friend on. You know, for all of you guys who think that I bring a lot of Fed heat, I think Steve brings way more, or at least when we combine our powers, we get it full speed. Today, we're going to be talking about women, feminists. I don't know why, but I have angry ladies that are upset with me because I have daughters and a wife, so that's fun to talk about. There's a new app that is allowing women to gossip. Shocking, ladies, that given an opportunity, you'll be also shocked to learn that the app was made by a man. We're going to talk about Tulsi and treason. We're going to talk about WWF superstar legend passing away, Hulk Hogan, and a few memories about that. Alcoholism. Yeah, I got a whole slew of random things. And GHISLAINE or Ghislaine Maxwell, take your pick on how you pronounce it, was interviewed by DOJ. She's going to be interviewed again by DOJ. Did she give up the goods? Can she be trusted? That's the question before we get started. This program is brought to you by my friends over at Silent. You guys know about Silent? That backpack that is being carried right there by Aaron, the founder of the company, is the backpack that I'm going to be taking to Timcast at the end of today's show. So we're going to keep it tight. We're going to try to get moving, and we're going to carry one of those E3 Everyday Faraday backpacks, which has multiple sleeves, one for my phone, one for my work phone. I'll slide them all in there, and I'm carrying my laptop as well. I don't like TSA going through my stuff, and I definitely don't want my RF frequency scanned. If you guys want to make sure you're locking down your RF signature, if you want to go invisible, you want to go silent, you can do it by slnt.com/Kyle. Again, KYLE is the promo code. It'll save you 15% on buying any of their great products. I have one sitting here right now. Since we've already been interrupted once, let's go ahead and make sure we put the phone in the Faraday sleeve. That's how easy it is. And you lock down your phone so that hackers and scammers and, people who have nefarious intent can't access the things that are in your life. Again, it's SLNT. That's the word silent with no vowels. SLNT.com/Kyle. SLNT.com/Kyle. And again, that Everyday Faraday backpack. It is an awesome, comfortable, well thought out, very well designed piece of equipment. They're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they actually work, which is more than you can say about most stuff that you buy from Chinesium on Amazon. Yep. I'm going to just say it. Check them out. 15% off and free shipping on qualified orders. It is the way to go. They're a great company, and we've been really pleased with all their products. I haven't found one yet that I don't like the way that they work. So let's get into it today and today's show. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's do Friendly Friday. And so we're going to be bringing on Steve Friend, but in honor of a great American hero, a real American, we're going to do some walkout music that's going to get us hit, I'm sure, with a copyright violation. Again, it's Steve Friend. Good morning, my friend. Welcome.
It is a good morning, but it's a sad morning because there's nothing that says 1980s America more than Hulk Hogan. So I'm glad he actually got to see. I looked it up this morning. He had his first grandkids this year in January, so we lived to see that. From what I understand, just a big dude, natural causes, so hopefully it was peaceful.
Yeah, 71 years old. I saw people that were gawking outside of his home, and they were trying to get pictures of the stretcher and all that kind of stuff. There's something special about Hulkamania. He went out and endorsed Donald Trump, which I thought may have been more cringy things. I also saw Anna Paulina Luna make it about herself. Thanks for letting me be your representative. Gross. She wasn't old enough to remember when everything was Hulkamania on TV. And what a message, too, right? Because the guy's message was always like, America's the good guy. We're the best. Say your prayers. Obey your parents. Take your vitamins. Eat healthy. Work out. Grow some 24-inch pythons.
Yeah. I mean, it was wholesome messaging. I mean, I don't think he was going to allude to the lots and lots of steroids that he was injecting at the time. But
for sure,
apparently, and I told my older son this, I saw him do an interview about a year or so ago. So my older son is 11, and he said, Hulk Hogan said when he was 11, he was somewhere in the area of 210 pounds and 6 feet tall. And we're playing Pop Warner football right now. And I'm like, hey, bud, you weigh 90. How'd you like to tackle that at middle linebacker?
That actually is, that's one of the discussions that I had with Tim Kennedy when we were not on camera. He came over and we were talking about sports and, kids in sports and whatnot. And I said, I was always a swimmer. And at some point in time, it was really obvious to me, but it wasn't obvious to my parents that I wasn't going to be a scholarship swimmer because I'm 5'8", and that's not happening. Mm-hmm. Like, you just lose a foot on every wall when the real swimmers get out there and do it. And he was like, yeah, I had the same thing. He's like, I kept winning. And then one day I didn't place for the first time. And my dad said, your swimming days are over. Mm-hmm. Go find another sport.
That's the game that we're playing right now. I'm having to be honest. I have to hear, and I'm treading lightly. I don't want to just dash the dreams. I'm going to play in the NFL one day. And I'm like, look at your daddy. He's smaller than every punter and kicker that's out there. I'm sorry, son.
Yeah, you don't have the genetics for it. Listen, you can draw the brain lottery, but you're just not going to be able to be the body that gets out there and did it. This is one of the great, probably post-wrestling clips that Hulk Hogan did. There's a little kid. This is what Hulk Hogan represented, I think, to a lot of people. So this is a fun clip I found out there. I think the Joe Rogan Headquarters podcast put this out earlier today. We've all seen it, but just a reminder that he always embraced the persona, and he knew that it was about kids, which is a totally Western thing that we're going to be talking about in general here. Kids are where it's at. Here he is talking to some kid at some store.
Let me tell you something, brother. When you walk in this beat shop, I'm surprised that you still got the shirt on, Jack.
Well, let me tell you something, Hulkster. The first time I met you, I was only 3 years old, but now I'm 6 years old. So now we gotta take it to a bigger level, man. Just like when you put that no good stinky giant over your head and send them right through the table in front of 93,000 Hulkamaniacs. So what are they gonna do when the power of the Hulkster and the roaster and the dual 24-inch pythons run wild on you? I am
a real That kid is awesome.
Just amazing. That kid, doesn't know that it's necessarily scripted, but at the same time, he bought into it. Hulk played it up, and that probably went on for a while, and he loved it.
Yeah, and that was a perfect rendition of a 6-year-old doing Hulk Hogan.
Talking about his 24-inch pythons.
Yeah, where he's got arms like the size of a soda can. It's awesome.
Toothpick.
Yeah, legendary stuff. And all of that is from this kind of thing. Again, the 80s, the 90s were a different time. It's actually, so there was this post that went out the other day about the Wonder Years. Did you see this?
Yes, it's a great thought exercise.
Okay, so here it is for the audience. I'm gonna put our audience up on the screen here. I didn't even make sure that you're on there, but there you are, Steve. Okay, so audience on YouTube, audience on Rumble. You guys are now participating in the thing. Consider this: in 1988, the Wonder Years debuted, and it pictured a family in 1968. If you were to do the Wonder Years today and create a 20-year retrospective, we would be doing a show about the year 2005. And I don't think there was that much difference between 2005 and 2025 in a lot of ways.
No, even the music, right? What do we have then? Like the Baha Men and Cisco and maybe like Britney Spears.
They're still playing that stuff. They're remaking stuff from the early 2000s left and right in Hollywood. So we just don't have the same generational changes that are happening each decade.
We're seeing incremental improvements in technology, and people make a really big deal of it's the new iPhone. Well, is it that much of an upgrade over the last iPhone that's worth camping out overnight? But that's what
I guess in 2005 we didn't have smartphones in the same way. So we were texting but not doing smartphones. So there are some technologies that have changed, but car technology, go grab an 2005 truck and it doesn't look so dramatically different. But if you went and grabbed like a 1968 versus a 1980s, you're going to get such a strange body style change. There was engineering developments. There was, fuel efficiencies and so on. There were more seat belts and airbags, and things changed so dramatically. So anyway, it's just interesting to think that there isn't that big of a change in the last 20 years as there were for each 10-year period, while we were growing up and while a lot of this audience was growing up and listening to that and thinking about it. So maybe that's why that nostalgia
There's another
exists.
one, just from use like movie reference, like Independence Day. The huge movie, 1996 was the year that came out. So the length of time between the moon landing, and it did happen, Ryan Matta, to Independence Day is less time than Independence Day and right now on the Kyle Seraphin Show on Friendly Friday.
Yo, that's wild. Yeah. All right. This is something that also went down. Is this Randy Savage in this clip? I think it is. Is this you have to double check for me, but Hulk was a big dude. About universes and solar systems, we're just mixing words up about the cosmos. We're saying things that don't make any sense. Are you guys really big, muscular, and on some sort of testosterone replacement?
Hulk Hogan proved that he could have male pattern baldness like your dad and still be awesome.
Dude, he's rocking the Friar Tuck and being a killer about it. All right. So that actually plays into something else that I wanted to play, which is that that was theater. I don't want to shock anybody, but that was theater. The spoiler alert. This is also theater, but we're getting a new kind of theater. Maybe this is why we're nostalgic to times when things were simpler and people thought America was great. This is Carrie Champion, who we're going to talk about in a second, on CNN, the most trusted source for news.
It's about making sure that there is white supremacy in this country. And if we're honest, we will say that. It is about making sure we will make sure that people who DEI is really all these code words. You used to use woke. I asked you to define what woke meant. You couldn't really define it for me. Tell me what it means again.
Woke ideology is taking extreme views of American culture and trying to tear down America from the inside out and go outside of our cultural norms and invade every corporation, university, and other institutions.
What is DEI?
That's incorrect.
Tell me that's incorrect. But what is DEI? Tell me again.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and trying to guarantee outcomes instead of guarantee opportunity.
Trump's cabinet looks like DEI.
I was speaking. If I could just...
It's not nearly as interesting because they don't know how to wait for the line. Have you noticed that? Like, she doesn't realize that when you're doing scripted theater, you know, Randy Macho Man has to say his piece, then Hulk says his piece, then the announcer says their piece. We got to be able to understand you. Just a bunch of chirping, you know, white supremacists touting crazy people. It's not good television. It's not compelling.
No, I mean, look, there's choreography involved. Even Hulk Hogan knew that. He had to do the T-Rex arm because he didn't want to extend the hand before he made a comment about once we actually do the handshake, then the universe will implode. And they didn't get that memo, right? Which is why they also try to play the gotcha game where they say, I asked you a question and you were unable to define it. And he goes, yes, I did. And then he proceeds to define it. And that's kind
wrong. That's wrong.
Objection.
That's wrong.
It's devastating to my case.
That's right. It's really gross. In addition to trying to push that narrative. By the way, I wanted to read about this woman. Her name is Carrie Champion.
That sounds like a fake name, like almost like Randy Savage, Macho Man.
Yeah, or like Hulk Hogan. Okay, so it's Carrie or Kari Champion. She was born in 1978, so she's 4 years older than me, I guess, or 3 years older than me, something in that range. She graduated college a couple years before I did. She went to UCLA because she's dealing with white supremacy. She was able to go to a college and then get a degree in English. And now she's able to make a living talking on television and being pretty, even if she doesn't know anything. And she does kind of do that thing that I've seen women do now. I don't know why they do it. Maybe somebody can explain it to us in the comments. But women keep doing makeup like they're drag queens. Have you noticed this?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
What is that?
I think they're worried about keeping their spaces. They don't want to have men taking over their spaces. And
so they look like men?
Play that up, yeah.
Okay, so her early broadcasting career, she moved to West Virginia to get a reporter job. She was a one-man band carrying a tripod and a camera, and it was god-awful, but she loved it because she wanted to do it, and she so wanted to be a reporter. Then she immediately moved to Orange County for some reason, so that's how you normally go things. You go from West Virginia to Orange County, then to West Palm Beach, Florida, doing the same thing. She became an anchor in Atlanta in 2007. 7 years out of college, she was anchoring a local television station. She was fired for uttering profanities on the air. She said, I called the screenwriter a mother sucker, not the F-bomb. That's better.
Probably speaks worse of you because that's not a term.
Then she bitched about it enough that she actually got reinstated a couple of months later. In November of 2007, she was fired. January of 2008, she had to be reinstated. Okay. And she started covering human interest stories. And then she began to develop an affinity for tennis, having no background in tennis, and became a reporter for the Tennis Channel because she made friends with Serena Williams because she's a black lady and Serena Williams is a black lady. So suddenly she was able to work there, and then her life took a turn. Now she hosts a show. So she's basically been a TV personality her whole life because white supremacy has been holding her down from the dream that she wanted, starting in West Virginia, which many people might say is as old and backwards as anything gets in this country.
Yeah, I think her ambitions, I don't hate anybody who's ambitious to do something like that, but to then do all those things and then cry about the system that props you up, basically slamming the door behind you, is just a disingenuous effort. And I mean, you defeat your own argument, but she's not interested in being honest. She's interested in doing the choreographed, scripted conversation, very poorly, I might add, on CNN, which is effectively doing WWE wrestling through rhetoric for people who want to be deluded into thinking that they're informed, but they're really just sort of being entertained.
But Steve, she said there's white supremacy, and so NBC News would not like you to think that there is not white supremacy. They did this story. I found this. It's absolutely fascinating. Apparently, if you go into the far reaches of the Amazonian jungle of America, which is known as the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, you can find a white colony of people who are discriminatory because they've chosen through free association to live together, and that makes them very bad. Listen to they even got the narrator from the Nature Channel to do this. This is pretty good.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills, in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only. They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
But what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
It's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks.
But they are being kept out, even if...
Well, I mean, you don't let everyone into your home.
Around 40 people live here. Hundreds more from across the world have paid to be members. And while the men do the physical labour, the women take care of the children who live here full time. It could be a very loving community if you're part of the community, but if you're black, or if you're Jewish, or if you're gay, you can't be part of that community.
They can have their own communities, and they already do.
You might be wondering how any of this can be legal.
He goes on to talk about how there's going to be some court challenges. What do you think?
Wow.
That's the first time you've seen that. First of all, they even got the chirping bird thing in the background.
That fake chirping bird that the Golf Channel tries to pipe in.
It's so good. Okay, go. What do you think about that?
These people are animals in a zoo to them, right? That's the sort of projection that they want to have here.
This is the white supremacist in his natural environment. He's now cruising around in the Ozarks with tractors and other obscure pieces of equipment, building what looks to be settlements amongst the rubble of their culture.
We could get the crocodile hunter out there.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
can you have a Muslim only community in Texas?
Yes. And
can you have a black settlement where you go buy 400 acres and you only let black people live in any state in America?
Like they had in Georgia, which I had involvement with when Othel Wallace, who was a black supremacist, murdered a Daytona police officer 3 weeks into my arrival here in Florida, and then fled, and through his network of black supremacists was able to escape law enforcement and get to a black-only settlement in rural Georgia that was called Wakanda. And we were told that there was no nexus for a national security investigation about racially motivated violent extremists that might have had a predicate on killing law enforcement officers and then evading capture. We were told not to look at that because that wasn't really a predicated group that we should look at. And the reporter who's captivated by this animal in its natural habitat at the same time would have the discussion about how there needs to be graduation ceremonies that are separate for people who are of a darker complexion so that they can be have given space to celebrate in their way. Because otherwise, if you just have one giant graduation where we all sort of pat each other on the back and say, hey, job well done, that's cultural erasure.
You can't erase their culture. It's not acceptable. It is interesting. I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't agree with the premise of somebody's skin color, somebody's ethnic background keeping you out, but I do agree with culture. And when I talk about I want to live around my people, I mean people that agree with me about things that are culturally relevant. And that means that I'm probably going to exclude a bunch of white people that I don't care about either. And then I have friends that are black, I have friends that are Mexican, I have friends that, Asian, whatever. they're all gun people that care about civil liberties. So like they are my people, whether we look alike is sort of irrelevant. But we do tend to have certain patterns. Like we know about work ethic. We know about how to dress, how to treat our children, how to treat our wives, you know, like.
Isn't the most extreme version of this being like, I hate everybody, so I just want to buy a lot of land and live by myself? Because
that'll get you shot too if you live in Idaho.
I mean, there's no difference to that. I mean, and I'm not defending people who are, saying, well, your skin color defines you. But at the same time, like one group, that's okay and should be promoted and elevated. And we should actually give you a desk spot on cable news, and the other people are somehow evil. You're allowed to be a jerk in this country as long as you're not impacting anybody. Like, go forth and prosper.
Why would, and imagine this, like they're doing this thing out in the Ozarks, as the guy actually laughs at him. He's like, this is like a little tiny place in the middle of the Ozarks. Like, why do you give a shit? What's wrong with you? And I agree with that too. What's wrong with these people? Like, why on earth would you want to go out there? Why would you want to be surrounded by people that didn't want to be around you? That's the same as if you walk into a club. You ever been to like a Latino club that they're playing like reggaeton, and it's like Steve Friend walks in, and you're there for like I've done that for interviews and stuff. You walk in, you're like, oh, I'm not. Yeah. This is not my environment. I'm not welcome here.
Like Animal House, where they show up at the black bar where the white lady's at.
You just show up somewhere and look around and you go like, this is not me. This is not my scene. That could be any number of reasons. And normal people know that. They walk in and go, this is not my culture. This is not my music. This is not people who like think the same way. And so maybe they're welcoming. People will welcome you. I've done that in Louisiana. Walked in and went, oh, swamp people. This is interesting. And then they passed a hat around, raised like $600 for a scholarship fund for fallen heroes that we were raising money for. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, were they my people? No, but they looked and saw us as curiosities and they welcomed us. And that's fine too. You can have cultural exchange, but why the hell would you try to, if you were a gay Jewish person, would you really want to go live in the Ozarks with those folks who said that they didn't want to be around you? Like, what the hell?
But I worked on an Indian reservation. Before that, I worked in the inner city where there were people who had not seen a white guy for days, possibly weeks on end.
That's right.
My professional work experience is just working in areas that are not my people, right?
That's right.
And
that's true.
It is illuminating, and you develop the skills and the ability to liaise and interface with people who have completely different culture and even like a way of speaking. I'll never forget having a ride along with me, and I stopped and got out of the car, did a field interview with this guy who was on the street. And I got back in, and this lady was laughing her butt off. And she said it was like watching Star Wars, where Han Solo and the Wookiee are talking to each other, and they're not speaking the same language, and yet they understand each other.
That's so true. My buddy was, he called me up, and he was driving on the Indian reservation up in Montana. And this dude pulls up to him, this old Indian guy. And I've told this story before, but it's worth mentioning here. Roll the window down. My buddy rolls the window down. He's an FBI agent. He looks like a Viking. He's like 6'2", blue eyes, big, blondish beard. And the guy looks at him and he goes, hey, be careful out there, white boy. You're in the Blackfoot. And my buddy's like, is that it? And he was like, yep. And he like rolled his window up. And so my buddy rolled his window up and drove on. Then he called me up and he was like, hey, I gotta be careful, white boy thing. It's different culture. It doesn't mean that you can't be,
it is
friendly.
Amusing how that tempo of speech and that accent seems to just be all across the country on every Indian reservation. Because
the special Indian reservation talking style, it's my absolute favorite. Sometimes they start sentences with the word because too, which is my favorite. Like, because no one's been here before and you're knocking on the door. It's like, wow. How hammered are you? This guy is a black guy, for anyone who's listening. I just found this as well the other day. It was just sitting in my archive of weird clips. And he looks like my people. He's dressed in a black shirt, just like I am. And he's got a button up. And he speaks articulately. And he's talking about things. So don't cancel me. I didn't say this, but I see these clips. A lot of these are popping up. And I don't know if they're doing the Candace Owen things where they're like looking for clout. Or whether they're going, hey, there might be some problems with certain people. And certain groups of people who happen to share a skin color, if they act inappropriately together, then maybe they just kind of suck. And this guy's talking about it. And they're his people, allegedly, which I would actually argue they're not his people at all. Anyway, Steve, you're on the screen. Feel free to interject.
Nobody wants to live around black people. Nobody wants to do business. Nobody wants to send their kids to our schools. No one wants to live in our areas. And it's not because of racism. It's because the areas that we live in, the things we do in our own communities, guess what? They're of less value. We destroy our own things. We destroy our own communities. We'll put down our own people with violence.
He reminds me of the other guy on
We treat each other
CNN.
like shit. So what makes you think that
Scott
somebody
Jennings,
wants
the
to
black
move into
guy.
our community and sing Kumbaya with us? And for all you liberal white women like, I live in a black neighborhood. You live in an affluent black neighborhood where a good majority of common black people don't live. You live in a neighborhood where a majority of the black people living there are probably making over $100,000 a year. You're not living with Tyrone and Jamal, Susan. You're living with Marcus and Diane.
Okay, so you're right. He looks like Sir Michael Singleton.
Sir Michael, yeah. He actually sounds like him. His voice
that guy does the fake white guy lady voice just the way I do too. So that's my people. That's what my people sound like. That's how they dress. That's what they look like.
And he has the appeal to authority, right? Because he can say, hey, look, I'm black. I'm allowed to criticize. You can't cancel me for this. And I mean, look, like, take it out of the racial context, right? Like, our people theoretically a couple of years ago were people who had a gun and badge from the FBI, and we are saying, like, you all suck, and we're allowed to criticize you for that.
Yeah, coming from a place of, okay, I understand what this thing is, and I have a problem with it. Look, I got the same problem that he's got with Susan, whoever Susan is. She really is obnoxious, that Susan.
Oh, Karen's the worst.
Yeah, and she's got colored hair. Like, I look at people and I just go like, oh, you're not my people. Even at my church, I'll look at people and go like, what are you doing here? You said something about, hold on, and I don't want to misquote you. Will you tell me what you said about elite and street, communists, feminists, conservatives? You may have to go back and read it because it was brilliant. Steve Friend, full screen. Listen to this, folks.
I said that the elite communists in this country actually live a very conservative lifestyle. Like, they're married, they have children in wedlock, they have a very stable household. You're thinking of like a Gavin Newsom. His kids are going to great institutions for schooling, and they probably come home and they probably have dinner together every night. They're like Ward and June Cleaver. And you contrast that with the quote unquote conservative feminists who are out there doing the content creation, and they live like street communists, where they are either unmarried or they have children outside of wedlock, and if they do have children, they hand them off to the illegal alien nanny so they can go back to creating content within 2 weeks. And it's an interesting contrast in the way that they actually live their life and the message that they're putting out there.
Yesterday, I said here, and it probably is one of the more quotable things, but we deserve a better class of grifter in America. And Elon Musk tweeted out yesterday that we deserve better psyops. Mm-hmm. Both of those things are the same statement, and they're both true.
Can I add a third? And that would be like, we deserve a better class of conqueror. Like, we don't have a Nebuchadnezzar. We have Bill Gates as being the evil villain.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. No, absolutely. All of that is true. All of that is gross. And I think that's maybe why the 80s was better, because at least our villains were villains.
Iron Sheik actually could like bench press something.
We deserve a better class of conqueror is the third piece of that. We need better grifters, better psyops, and a better class of conquerors because we're being conquered by the weak and the worst. How interesting. Yuck. All of that is gross, Steve. It makes me pine for a better time when at least we knew who the bad guys were. Let me do a quick promo for my friends over at Patriot Protect, and then we're going to get into like a handful of news stories that I grabbed up here that I think are of interest, but this was like the cultural piece of it, and I was distracted by Hulk Hogan passing. So that's the first half of the show. Here we go. All right, folks, if you guys have not seen my friends over at Patriot Protect and you want to protect yourself and your online presence, it's patriot-protect.com/Kyle. My name, the promo code Kyle, will save you, I think, 15% on your annual subscription. It might be 20%. You guys will have to check it out. It saves you a significant amount, and it makes it a relatively insignificant amount of money to keep you away from scammers. There's stories going around of hacks almost every single month. You guys will find out that data breaches happen. You'll have credentials from companies like AT&T. They'll happen in healthcare systems. They'll happen in the federal government, like it happened to Steve and I. We all had our stuff leaked out there, and there's a couple ways they can do it. Sometimes they just put it out in the open. You'll get bank accounts, email providers, healthcare portals, giving your private health information. Your government attempts to get a clearance at all of your background check forms may be available, either to nation-state actors or to individual scammers. If you want to keep your names off the data broker site so that people cannot search you so easily and find out who you are, find out that your net worth is $2 million, as I found out about myself very interestingly the other day. That's actually pretty cool to find out. I'm looking forward to finding the rest of that money. But if you guys want to get your name out of those people search databases, you can use Patriot Protect. And again, it's patriot-protect.com/KYLE. You want to not be a target for scammers. You want to make sure that if your stuff is out on the dark web getting sold, that you find out about it first so you can change those things up. Again, it's patriot-protect.com/KYLE. Link in the show description. Both my wife and I are using their service. It's inexpensive, And it's kind of like an ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. Steve, let's do some news-ish stories. This one I teased and alluded to. There is a new app that's known as T. And that's what you're seeing on the screen right now is a picture of T. I'd like to read you the headline because I didn't want to clutter up our visual here. Women are anonymously spilling tea about men in their cities on a viral app. I've seen so many people I know on the app. It's crazy, said one user of T, which topped the Apple charts store this week. When Sid Walker opened the T app, she's greeted by a barrage of posts about men and their apparent red or green flags. He's a cheater, Walker said, reading some of the comments from one of the posts. What clubs does he go to? He's cute, said another person. The app appears to be advertising itself online since at least this fall, allowing users to solicit feedback about certain men they're dating so women can anonymously either, shit talk or brag about the men that they're dating. Walker 22 is among the 4 million users on the woman-only Safety app, which became #1 in the free app section of the Apple Store. It was created by a man. That's the other funny thing. The woman-only app was created by a man. His name is Sean Cook, who said on T's website that he was inspired after watching his mother's terrifying experience with online dating. There's something wrong about all of that, including being catfished and unknowingly dating men with criminal records. His LinkedIn profile says he's the founder of T since 2022. It was self-funded by Sean. He created the app with his own money, supposedly. What do you think about online gossipy gaps?
They need to get friends, right? They basically just created a forum for these girls to do what they have done forever, and that was dish on the guy that they're dating to their friends. But because we live in a time right now where people don't have friends and they have to be on a device at all times, he saw that niche and created it. I'm wondering, what's the vetting process? Are there dudes who are allowed on there because they identify as women? This could be a problem.
Not clear, but they have such online sections as, are we dating the same guy? And groups known as liars, cheats, abusers, and anyone who exhibits toxic or dangerous behaviors. These were all Facebook groups that women got kicked off on because they were defamatory and judges were getting lawsuits, and they were kicking them out, and a lot of frivolous nonsense on there. So they just moved it to an app where they can all kind of do the equivalent. Women can express interest in men. They can talk about how looking at him, they can determine all kinds of things about him and other bigoted things. Kind of like excluding people from your community based on the way that they look or the maybe religious things or the way they dress.
The morning conference room meetings, like the staff meetings, everybody in that room is a dude and they're just dying laughing at this. They have the greatest scam going. These women are giving us their data, which we can then monetize and sell so that they can do things that they've always done forever. And we actually have it in written form so we could theoretically, if there's any damaging material in there, notify the guy so we could be a good brother to them.
And then we have this story, which is not necessarily related, but seems to be related. Alcohol use is up in women, and the health consequences have followed. Heavy drinkers are likely to get alcohol-related liver diseases compared with decades ago, a study found. It's also most likely that certain groups, including women, are drinking more. I wonder why. It turns out that the sort of the physical struggle of being out in the world and dealing with a-holes all the time, I think it used to drive men to drink. I'm doing this flashback to the 1950s,
the
which
Mad Men.
Nobody listening here was working aged in the 1950s. I think that's pretty clear, right? We can pretty much guess that that's the case.
Yes.
And so very few were working age of awareness in the 1960s. And I would say that even the oldest members of our audience were probably starting to work in the late 1960s, early 1970s. I'm thinking of my father's generation, born in 1949, graduated high school in 1968. So I can do the math on that. I think that's right. That's kind of how this plays out, right? So nobody remembers what the 50s were like. So we have these idealized versions of them where dudes were drinking and slapping secretaries on the ass or whatever other things were going on. And, we've introduced women into men's spaces, and now we've gone full circle where men are climbing into women's locker rooms.
Yeah. It's a callback to the Wonder Years. One of the episodes was when the dad got home from work. This is theoretically 1968. The wife had to meet him at the door with a drink in her hand because he had to have a moment to decompress, and he was relying on alcohol to do that every single day. And now the girl bosses are got to go to work and go to do that. And another reason they could be upping their drinking is the fact that they're not pregnant anymore. They're not making people.
Wow, that's interesting. Oh, well, for whatever it's worth, I think sometime early on, my wife decided to stop drinking after having kids, and mostly because you got to get up and be functional. You got other stuff going on. I'm sure there were entire generations of people that woke up and parented hungover, but we know what the science is, and it does seem like a really bad decision. Like, I've never once gone to bed and woken up hungover and been like, oh man, I'm so glad I had drinks last night. So I just make that decision proactively before there's a drink. Just go like, oh, I'm probably not going to really appreciate this.
Negative reinforcement.
Go figure. All of that's really funny to me. I don't know why I think it's so funny, but I guess it's sad too. Let me see if I had some other kind of goofy clips in here of all this kind of stuff. No, I had more Hulkamania too. So while we're talking about women making decisions about drinking, let's talk about women who drink. How do I know this? Because someone may or may not have told me that this woman is a heavy drinker. And there she is right there. That's, what's her name? That's Alina Haba.
Yeah. So she was the United States Attorney acting role for New Jersey. And then her time ran up, and then they put in the deputy, and then we fired the deputy as a dunk. So I don't know who's actually occupying that seat. I know they
just named her as the acting. So Trump has yanked her nomination to be the actual United States Attorney and then put her back in as the acting United States Attorney in New Jersey. So she's back. Kyle, how do you know that she drinks a lot? I was actually told by someone who was looking for a personal assistant for her that the person would have to tolerate a 40-something-year-old lady who does a fair amount of drinking and swearing. So there you go. Anyway, President Trump on Thursday, she's pretty. She's not living conservative life, even though she's got the cross out there. This goes back to your point. I can't tell you how many news media, like influencer types, people in politics that are in this female sphere do not live the values that they are selling at all. Like you said, children out of wedlock, regularly telling women how to live while living single and not having any of the things that they claim are good. And the women who are listening to them have all the things that these women should actually be doing, if that's what they actually believed. It's just, I guess it's good business. President Trump withdrew the nomination for Alina Haba, former defense lawyer, to serve as the top prosecutor again in New Jersey at the Justice Department, clearing the way for her to serve as a acting capacity. They get what, 120 days every time in the acting capacity?
Yes. And I mean, that always kind of was a head scratcher to me that they're up against a time clock on it. Like, you want to see people permanently put in there, but at the same time, all right, we'll just pull them out for one day and then it's right away, like reinstall them unless there's some sort of rule against that.
Yep. Here it is. So they had initially put the deputy in. As you said, that was Desiree Lee Grace, the state's top federal prosecutor. And then she was just removed. She was selected to serve. And so the Trump administration decided to dunk on the judges. Justice Department does not tolerate rogue judges, especially when they threaten the president's core Article 2 powers, said Pam Bondi on a post while she was talking to Sean Hannity in the green room on social media. I made that part up. How many times have we seen these people go out and do news hits compared to, I don't know, ever in the history of America?
All the times. All the times. I mean,
why is this? Do we just have just like a news media influencer? We're just going to make it up. Alex Jones asked me yesterday. He was like, what's the Trump administration doing well? And I'm like, all the things they're doing well, you're not hearing about on purpose because they're actually doing their job. Look at the energy secretary. How many interviews do you see him do? None.
But his background is not in doing the public relations and doing the content creation. So I think when people are under stress, they're going to resort to what they do best. What is it that you bring to the table? Well, my skill set is that I can talk really proficiently and eloquently into a microphone and look into this camera and convince people that I have certain skill sets that I might not necessarily have. So they lean on that. That's their crutch. And at the same time, like for Alina Haba, they're saying that, she's really aggressive. She's going after the Democrats. It's like, well, you had a congresswoman body slam someone on video like that. That's not really like you being energetic in going after. That's just you following through. And at the same time, Chris Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, was saying like, I'm going to house illegal aliens in my house and good luck coming to get me. And then it came out like, oh, be careful. The U.S. attorney's going to subpoena you. Meanwhile, she's posing for pictures with him to create content to put on her social media accounts. When she's at a soccer game, they're not in the cheap seats, right? They're in the owner's box because they're all elitists.
Yeah, it goes back to the Hulk Hogan thing we were talking about. This is all professional wrestling. It continues to look the same way to me. And we're going to talk about somebody in a second who I despise, and we're going to talk about how fake she is because you decided to go look into it, which is so easy to do. These people all forget that they're in an internet era where if people had just a little bit of curiosity, they'd realize what frauds are going on. I did notice our chat mentioned that Matthew Lohmeyer, former guest on this show, former Space Force commander, was just confirmed as the Undersecretary of the Air Force yesterday. That's all good news. Got no headlines, by the way. And he's very calm. He's very well spoken. He's a handsome man, but he's interested in commanding and fixing military problems, not running out and running to TV. By the way, Pete Hegseth seems like he's doing a decent job of avoiding the limelight.
It almost is like
I don't see him all day.
Don't announce that you're doing a probe or an investigation into somebody if you're actually interested in doing law enforcement and conducting an effective investigation that's going to bring an evildoer, a criminal to justice, right? But we're not doing that in certain elements. And then in other ones that we are, the ones they're not talking about, I think we rest assured that they're not doing anything. That's, I think, that the most optimistic, rosy view you could have.
They're not doing anything. Okay, so here's another story that we'll throw up on the screen here. This is about Columbia University in New York. They just made a $200 million settlement with the Trump administration. This is going to lead into somebody else that I don't like, so we'll talk about that. The university, as usual, did not admit wrongdoing in the agreement. That's pretty standard for these large settlements. $200 million over the next 3 years to resolve claims that it discriminated against Jewish students, an agreement that the university said will help restore hundreds of millions of dollars in federal grants by the Trump administration. So in other words, they pay $200 million to get more money. This is an investment in their future, and it's like giving Trump the win so that they can get a bigger win so they don't get cut out of the billions of dollars in funding. While Columbia does not admit to wrongdoing in this resolution agreement, the institution's leaders have recognized repeatedly that Jewish students and faculty have experienced painful, unacceptable incidents and that reform is and was needed, but nobody is responsible, least of all us. They've also agreed to pay $21 million to settle investigations brought by the EEOC. How interesting. I've had zero success with the EEOC. They've been mostly useless. Here's CNN arguing about it, Steve Friend. And then we're going to get some background on our favorite lady on here who is alleged. She's a Republican, yes?
Oh, yeah.
But not conservative as far as I can tell. Here we go.
Including in the Trump administration.
You don't pay $200 million to just, quote, make something go away. You pay $200 million because you know you got caught red-handed systematically discriminating against Jewish students. That's why you pay. That's why you change your policies. If elections have consequences, if Trump had not won, they would still be doing it today. Thank God he pushed back on them.
Look, I think the reason that they're paying the $200 million is because they don't want to lose billions in grants, because they don't want to lose the money that comes in from international students, like what Trump has done with Harvard, threatened to take away the visas of all of the international students coming to Harvard. I think they don't want to fight the way that Harvard is fighting back. So you say, the things that Trump has done to get them to bend the knee. In the case of CBS and Paramount, they need government approval for the sale and a merger. In the case of the law firms, he threatened not to allow any of the lawyers into federal buildings. In the case of the universities, he's taken away billions of grant money, to the point where there are scientists from American universities that are being recruited and leaving the country.
People will die. Who was that? That was Anna Navarro. Tell me about Anna.
Well, former campaign advisor to John McCain and John
Love
Huntsman,
that guy.
Yeah, who can't seem to actually be proficient in what the content creators that we were just talking about, and that is, are being articulate in the English language and having a message. Now, I don't disagree with what she was saying, where it's basically a down payment on getting billions of dollars back. And even a little bit off topic, going to Columbia seems like self-association, associating with who you want. If you want to associate with anti-Semites, my problem is, why are we giving federal dollars? The guys in the Ozarks aren't asking for federal grants, so that's really the difference. But
this is why Steve Friend, guys, this is why Steve Friend is such a valued contributor to the Friendly Friday program. It's a great link. I don't know why we give money to any of these universities for any of these things. This is just... I think that is what is the one thing that the Trump administration has pointed out more than a lot of people, is how much money is going to places that we just cannot fathom, whether it be Tanzania or Columbia University. It's like, how on earth? we have homeless people that are veterans that are dying on our streets. And you're crying about this. Keep going.
We're borrowing money on the backs of our grandkids to give it to Columbia. And we're going to say, well, because it's entertaining, we're going to go and fight Columbia because they're anti-Semites. Free association.
What if those scientists go somewhere else, Steve? Then we lose some scientists.
Or there could be private investment in those institutions that are actually pursuing something. They might be
because
able
they're
to
private
get
schools,
it
you mean? What a joke. Why does she have an accent?
Anna Navarro, so she's from Nicaragua. So that might explain her accent, except the fact that she moved to America when she was 9. And she wasn't from like the mean streets of Nicaragua. Like she was landed gentry, father who was a high level, like Department of the Agriculture there. She attended elite schools her entire life, came over to America while in grammar school, which is very interesting to me because, you know, I'm married to somebody who's not from America originally, arrived here in high school when you think like the accent would be a little bit deeper. It would sound a lot like Sparks, the congresswoman. But
yes,
my wife.
That's what your mother-in-law sounds like, you said.
That's what my mother-in-law, because she moved here when she was in her 40s, whereas my wife moved here when she was 14. And still, if you interfaced or interacted with my wife, you would not know that she is not from this country. She doesn't even have an accent. And yet, Ana Navarro feels like she has to put that accent on so that she can lean on that as a crutch and let you know that she brings this worldly perspective when she was advising the Maverick about, what's that? Isn't Kennedy's 101 law like a derivative of that? Like
no matter who you nominate, you get John McCain.
You get John McCain. Yeah.
Is it possible, I'm going to play devil's advocate to your position here. Is it possible that Ana Navarro was unable to get rid of her accent because she's dumb and your wife is a lot smarter? Go.
Yes. I don't need to do much delving into that.
So that's possible.
Right?
We could at least say it's possible that she's just dumb.
I mean, yeah. I don't need to elaborate on that. She's retarded.
That's fair. Okay. I just, speaking of retarded, I played this the other day. These are the people that you hate. These are men doing Steve Friend style skits of people that I think make your blood pressure unsafe in all of America. Whenever you go around, I think these men have noticed the things that you notice. I played it yesterday as a palate cleanser. I want your reaction to it because I just thought of it right now.
I just walked through the doors of this store. I'm going to stand right here and plan my next move.
Oh, I see that there's a car behind me in this parking lot. I'm just going to keep walking right in the middle of the driving area.
Oops, I'm in the dentist waiting room and I'm getting a phone call. Better put this one on speakerphone.
Well, I'm all done with that now. Oh, it's my turn to order after spending over 20 minutes in line? Gosh, I have no idea. I'd better start the decision-making process right now.
Hey.
There's more to it. What do you think?
We desperately need to reevaluate the Eighth Amendment in this country, cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, we need to expand capital murder crimes. All of those should be in effect. And let me add in the addendum, I don't know if it was in there, the people that now that we do self-checkout, the people, there'll be like 8 of them available. You should just be standing in a general line and go to the next available one to check out. But people are like, hey, which one are you standing in line for? And then
I didn't know that was a thing, but that seems like maybe that's a uniquely Florida problem. We don't have that problem what I've seen.
Well, we're doing that.
You could do that, Steve. I think you could make a higher definition version of this with your iPhone. You could literally walk out and have your wife, who speaks with no accent, video you doing all the things that people do that you hate, and it would be a viral thing because I think a lot of other people notice it as well.
Mm-hmm. All those are failing basic citizenship tests. It's being so roped into just you at all times that you don't take a moment to think like, hey, I shouldn't just shove this shopping cart out into the middle of the parking lot.
I like the Russian guy that goes and makes people put them back. That makes, like, he's like this beefy ass Russian guy with a bunch of tattoos.
That would have been a Hulk Hogan type of job in retirement. It would have been awesome.
Hulk Hogan.
Parking lot attendant enforcer?
No. There's a name for it's shopping cart enforcer, right? Cart return enforcer as Hulk Hogan. That would be good stuff. I would actually like to see that as well. That's a shame. Somebody maybe can dress like Hulk Hogan and go do that. We had a discussion last night on our call-in program about how we actually thought we were going to get rid of all these people, that we needed a plague of some kind, and we thought that we had a pandemic, but it turned out to be just like a retard apocalypse. I can't remember what the actual term was, and it didn't really stick. It wasn't as catchy as I wanted it to be, but that's kind of what ended up happening. Is it was the worst possible pandemic. It really wasn't a great plague for getting rid of dummies. We knew who they were. They were all wearing the multiple masks. We knew them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great purge for as far as like your personal relationships with people and interactions with people in a commercial capacity. Like right away, and put it into like the MAGA concept, right? That red hat. Why is that particular red hat so infuriating to the communists in this country?
Because it's bulls are simple creatures and they get inflamed by color. So they made a color association. It's the color of passion. Listen, I found one of the ladies that we were just talking about that we thought were going to be gone because of the retard apocalypse. and somehow she's still out there. So she went to one of the experts of the retard apocalypse and asked him, where did I go wrong? This clip is actually freaking amazing. This is a recent clip of Peter Hotep's. He dresses like a cartoon fake doctor, and here's a woman asking him for his best medical advice. Here it is.
My concern was I'm getting COVID often. I took Paxlovid the third time, and then a few weeks later I got it again, and it was COVID was really bad on me.
That's a common experience, by the way. So if you get repeated bouts of COVID, I mean, anybody can get long COVID after a case of COVID. It's more likely if you've had repeated bouts of COVID or if you've had a severe case of COVID.
So
that's the reason.
Should I be getting the vaccine even though I've had it multiple times?
Yeah. Now, I guess one question is, after you had your first 2 immunizations way back in 2021, did you get boosters regularly?
I got 1 booster, and then after that I stopped getting them.
Yeah. So that's the reason why you keep up with the booster.
Steve Friend, go.
So let's just evaluate what the good doctor is proposing with his nice bow tie. You got the illness that theoretically now you have the antibodies to fight against, but it was necessary for you to jam a needle containing a experimental gene juice into your arm continuously every 6 months, because otherwise you might get long COVID. It's totally not vaccine injured at all. It's definitely not the experimental gene juice that you continually jam into your body to produce a protein that is toxic, but you should keep doing that. That is the person, that is the doctor that told me when I said I need to get something because I have coronavirus. And he said, take hot showers and cold showers, because I guess bloodletting and leeches weren't available. Or the other doctor that I went in for something unrelated, and he walked in the room and said, oh, you're not wearing a mask? Let me go get a second mask, and then exited and came back in.
That is a good, if you want 2 masks between you, you can wear the second one. Well, that actually is a great option.
Theoretically, I think that you should wear 1 mask, and then the second mask should be inside out.
Yes.
And then it is as if I'm wearing one.
Yeah, and then you can feel good about it. It reminds me of the little meme, which is like an old-timey doctor on like an old like rotodial phone. And it's not even like, it's like the party line where he just picks it up and he just like, operator, like, and he's got like the earpiece and the separate mouthpiece thing. And he goes, your results are in. You've got ghosts in your blood. You should do cocaine about it. That's essentially what we just heard right there.
By the way, smoke this brand of Lucky Strike cigarettes, because 4 out of 5 doctors recommend it.
That's right. Here it is. Okay, so speaking of things, the same people, this is a great segue. You ready? The same people that are wondering if they're getting sick because they're not getting enough boosters are the same people that now suddenly are very, very interested in what went on with GHISLAINE Maxwell, and they're very interested in the Epstein case suddenly after years of not being interested. And so NBC News is saying the following: can Ghislaine Maxwell be trusted to tell the truth about Jeffrey Epstein? There might be even more. Listen, we have to pre-bunk the possibility that Ghislaine Maxwell says, yeah, Donald Trump was never on the thing, or maybe she says that he was. Either way, we need to hedge our bets because we need to make sure that whatever the story we tell is now suddenly relevant to our audience. That's a picture of Ghislaine Maxwell, who had like a pretty good rack, and apparently
like Pelosi level rack, yeah.
Yeah, kind of a Pelosi, like a pre-Pelosi, early Pelosi rack, while putting Jeffrey Epstein's toesies between her
bosoms.
Thank you. That was good. All right. What do you think? Can we trust? We saw that the DAG, the Deputy Attorney General, went to apparently do individual interviews, which I've never heard happening, and I don't know what his investigative role is. He's now he went and met and did a jailhouse deposition of Ghislaine Maxwell, and they're going to do another one today. So we don't know, and they're also going to do another one in August.
So
what do you got?
So she's getting the queen for a day, right? I presume that this is a proffer where nothing you say can be used against you, as you just need to be forthright with us and share this information.
She's already doing 20 years, though.
And what sort of ease on sentencing is she going to ask for this? Like, she's doing it for personal reasons. Now, like, look, Are they just pivoting over to do this because they have to like do something because they know that, oh, well, the grand jury requests we got are going to get stomped down because Rule 6E says like nothing that we asked for can be given over, and that didn't take as long as we were hoping it was going to take. It didn't last 4, 6, or 8 months until we got a response from the judge. So maybe we'll just keep interviewing continuously Ghislaine Maxwell so we can say that we're getting to the bottom of it. So Lindsey Graham can go on Sean Hannity and twice a week say, well, we're going to keep working on it. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to issue subpoenas. We're going to have hearings on it. And then eventually it'll be like 2029, and hopefully everybody will have forgotten about this.
I assume they will. Maybe we could do another distraction and we could have another pretty lady. I got no beef actually with what Tulsi Gabbard's been up to, but she seems like she's been in the news talking about things. I'm going to play a clip. Then you tell me, are we going to see indictments of anybody on the back there? By the way, there is there's a graph that is behind her. I wonder if I have both. Hold on one second here. Steve Friend. No, I do not have both. The second graph that is behind her, if you have it from a different angle, it says secret Russian meeting. It's one of my favorite sort of things to put up on a blackboard behind you. This is the director of national intelligence, and she says the following. I need your reactions. I want to know if Obama's getting handcuffs, my friend, or if we're watching Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan shake hands.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us from a 50,000-foot level explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people, and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you and the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals who are some still working within these agencies today.
Anybody going to jail? Look, secret Russia meeting. I found it.
Look at that. The creation of the Russian hoax. We got a picture of Barack Obama on the top. Man, this thing is like really well produced. All right, a couple thoughts. Tulsi Gabbard, who's wearing the all-white pantsuit, looking very presidential as she stands at the lectern that says the White House, Washington, with the seal of the president behind her, and is totally not getting her name ID up so she can run for governor of Texas. Dramatic pause. She's presenting that information out there, which is we've known for years on end. And the pushback from the media was, well, a bipartisan Senate committee went into this. Well, that Senate committee had been given information by the ODNI that was the created false documents. So that investigation was not really based on anything that was real. And look, I want to present the devil's advocate almost, because I think it's easy to say like, hey, look, you think that they got rid of the Epstein files and they didn't get rid of like the Obama conspiracy files? Like, why would they get rid of both?
That's the big question to me.
Let me present this. I think that they come and they go, Hobbs, but the institution is here forever. In the hubris of the intelligence community, they think that nobody is going to come into this role, which is why you see John Ratcliffe came into that role. And why didn't he turn over? Because intelligence is forever. Doesn't matter who's in charge. We are here. We're the administrative state, the deep state. We have this information. And they might have just said, like, whoever takes that seat, whatever guy, whatever girl is there, is not going to turn it over, which might explain why they tried to make Tulsi Gabbard into a terrorist and have her surveilled.
That's an interesting perspective, and I don't dislike it. I've been looking for an answer. I tend to lean towards, like, I was kind of not a fan only because I've seen all of her Second Amendment stuff. I read her discussion about why she changed her mind. It sits fine with me. I don't have any proof that she's not being honest, so I'll take her at her word on that. And she seems like she's doing reasonable work.
On the Obama thing, the fact that we have adult humans in this country who think that Barack Obama is going to go to prison explains the fact that we have a significant number of people who could not handle an unexpected $400 expense.
That's another Steve Friend zinger from my chat earlier this week. Say it one more time.
The fact that we have adult humans in this country who, are not insignificant number, believe that Barack Obama, who didn't have a single problem with his presidency, no Solyndra, no Lois Lerner. He one time wore a tan suit, that he's going to wind up in an orange jumpsuit in handcuffs in federal penitentiary. If you legitimately believe that, that explains why a significant number of people could not handle an unexpected $400 expense.
I think that's true. I think that's fair. And as I said, like, I don't have any reason to doubt the stuff that Tulsi said. I also know that there is something about being targeted by your government that you used to sort of believe in that can radicalize you at a rate that nothing else can do. And so finding out that they were surveilling you on a plane when you were in the National Guard and holding the rank of what, colonel, with a top secret clearance?
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild experience to have. To know that they were surveilling your wife, when you're a federal air marshal and you were the one asked to schedule people to watch your wife go to Washington, D.C., could make you a little bit nuts and a little bit radical and could definitely change your opinion on whether or not the good guys are the U.S. government, which we used to believe back in the 80s. We did, sort of. Actually, we always knew the government was the bad guys, but they were good guys that were making it work.
I mean, look, you've said it tongue in cheek, like the government I grew up with, the America I grew up in would invade the America that I live in. Like, that's not a good sentiment. Like, you wouldn't want to send like a black team in to do that. But I think ultimately, like, the belief was like in the 80s, like we were at least trying to be an objective force for good.
Well, we thought we were the good guys at the end of the day. And like we tried to go out there and actively portray it. But then again, you watch movies like E.T. and you remember that, like, no, the government was trying to like steal a little boy's friend, those assholes. Speaking of, do you think there's any chance someone lower in the chain goes to jail? I'm going to play you this thing from James Clapper, who is one of the people on that list. And he seems like the only one that's going out and messaging a little bit of concern. I wonder if it's because he's supposed to be the guy that says that and make it look like it's real, so that this is real KFOB, because it could be scripted, or if you think he actually has real concern, and then we'll wrap up with that.
When the director says that she's referred these filings to the Justice Department for a criminal investigation, tonight we're told they formed what is called a strike force. Do you have concerns that they will attempt to prosecute you?
Well, certainly I do. After 8.5 years of this, and I don't know of an intelligence product that was more scrutinized, more investigated than that product was by numerous people. It's very disconcerting.
For President Obama, we might not have done the intelligence community assessment that we did that set off a whole sequence of events which are still unfolding today. President Obama is responsible for that, and it was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment in the first place. It was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment.
What do you think?
Megamind, James Clapper. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. He looks just like it. No, I don't think that he's going to go to prison at all. I think he's out there just kind of like, he's the one who was selected to do it. He's the Susan Rice who went out there and said that the Benghazi video was why why we had the unrest over there, right? I think he's the guy that just they picked. And they can also do it because they can slap by his name, Lieutenant General, retired, and say that he was a real American hero, and he's more sympathetic that way.
That's fair. This was him in 2017, talking about Donald Trump being run by Russia. Like, at the end of the day, this stuff is not new. And anybody who's been paying attention to it knows that these people were out there working. It's not like they were hiding. You didn't need a secret Russia meeting. They did it on CNN. Here he is doing that on CNN.
I think this past weekend is illustrative of what a great case officer Vladimir Putin is. He knows how to handle an asset, and that's what he's doing with the president.
You're saying that Russia is handling President Trump as an asset?
That seems to be that's the appearance to me.
Professional assessment.
That guy got to where he did because he was a communist, Marxist, good and faithful servant, did what he was told. And used the levers of power at his disposal because he identified a choke point, which for him was the intelligence community, to go after political enemies, to punish them and reward his friends. And then he was a good and faithful servant who got rewarded in the outset. Like, he's on CNN there. He's, I'm sure, some sort of paid contributor. And if he's not there, he's working for some think tank, and he's living very comfortably. And for all the concerns about, well, I could be prosecuted, I need representation, do you think he's going to go out of pocket one dime for a lawyer to defend him?
No, I don't.
He'll be tried in Washington, D.C., where the jury will come out and acquit him and say, yeah, we know he did it, but we just didn't want to send him to jail, like they did for the people who lied on the FISA wiretaps for the Russiagate.
Let's end with something that just also will just piss off people, because apparently people really like Candace Owens, and I think she's horrible. I want to go back to our 3 rules. We need better grifters. We need better, what was the other piece of it? We need better psyops. And lastly, conquerors. We deserve better conquerors. Here she is talking about bankrupting. This is a thing that is going to be a problem for not James Clapper and probably not Candace Owens. If you guys are listening to the dollar signs, they're talking that her husband is worth something like $250 million. And she has a net worth that is also like well into the 7 figures in just of herself. And the people that she's talking about suing her that have all the money are actually worth quite a bit less. But anyway, whenever you can cast yourself as a victim, you sort of are living like a lib.
The goal is to bankrupt me. That's how these elites think. They think about, we have money and money is power, right? We'll keep this going. We've got unlimited funds. That's why elites love courts and expensive lawyers, because the little guys, what are you going to do? How are you going to defend yourself against these people? You are going to pay financially because we have unlimited funds. Anyway, the point that I'm making here is that common sense, literally sense among us commoners, is the biggest threat to the establishment.
Literally sense among the commoners.
Let me just tell you the least conservative thing you can do. Make yourself a victim. Make it all about you. That like Candace Owens is Anna Paulina Luna and Nancy Mace and all the rest. They're all the same to me. I look at them and I'm like, just shut up. Just
Do you
stop.
think she found the Ben Shapiro slush fund that all the whistleblowers get when we're paid more than we would have ever been paid as FBI
Because she's a whistleblower
agents?
about penises on a French lady. That's what's going on. You don't have to agree with me, by the way. I get hate. Like, people are like, Kyle, you're a smart guy. Like, you're really wrong about this. You should look into it. I don't have to. I don't need to look into it. I don't give a shit. I don't care whether or not if he married a man, which I don't think he did. I don't care. It's irrelevant.
Don't
what
care.
Does that do?
And the people that write that also think you have things like subpoena power.
That's right.
Because you're a
5
Fed
seconds.
boy.
Yeah, because I'm going to send a doctor to go collect somebody's blood. Like Candace Owens has doctors to go collect people's bloods. At the end of the day, can we just remember that woman said the White House called her, and she was the reason that the Ukrainian war was continuing. She needed to stop making fun of Brigiste's penis so that the conflict in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine would stop.
And she elected to not do that and instead go out on her podcast so the war could continue to rage because
and she's
she
a
had to take a
warmonger.
stand.
And I would imagine that the reason she's a warmonger is because somehow the Jews. So anyway, hit me up with all your hatred about how much you love Candace Owens. I think she's a fraud. We deserve better grifters. We deserve better psyops. We deserve better and more masculine conquerors like this guy who was a real American. Steve Friend, final thoughts, and I'll let you tell people about AMRAD.
Well, happy trails to Hulk Hogan there. Real American hero. Take your vitamins, say your prayers, all wholesome things that I still teach my kids these days. So he will be missed. And for American Radicals podcast, tomorrow join us for the Saturday grab bag. It's going to be a grab bag, but sort of an experience in contrast, where we talk about like artificial intelligence is making people lose jobs and then helping them get them. And we have hate crimes that some of them are real and then some of them are fake. So it'll be a good time. Join us 10:30, rumble.com/amradpod. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks, Steve. You have a great weekend. Folks, say bye to Steve. We're going to make him go away. We're going to shut it down here. I thank you so much for watching. If you guys are watching over on Rumble, please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. If you're watching over on YouTube, same story. It's youtube.com/@KyleSerafin, @KyleSerafin over on X. I will be doing the Timcast IRL tonight. I will be doing that program. I don't know what time it starts, so hopefully you guys do. Hopefully you know when these things happen. And if you want to find me out there, I'll be in West Virginia doing the thing. That means I got to catch a plane in about 2.5 hours. So we are going to be on the run. If you guys are listening to this after the fact, I am already airborne and en route to a place that I do not necessarily like going because I hate going to Washington, D.C., but so be it. Let me give you a palate cleanse that has nothing to do with any of these things. It's something that's really near and dear to our heart here in the Seraphin house. We really like dragonflies. We really don't like actual flies that are flying around. And this guy apparently let me know that I didn't know that. I didn't know that dragonflies ate flies. Did you?
Flies, right? What do we do for fly control in our herd? And I bet you haven't heard this one.
Look at our fly load. There's almost not a fly on any of these animals.
How are we preventing flies? Well, we really don't do anything. They're going to be hard to see on camera, but let's see if we can capture some of them. Say hello to my little friends. Dragonflies, they catch their prey with precision. They have compound eyes with like 30,000 lenses, and they can detect motion and track targets across a 360-degree field of view. They process visual data in milliseconds, predicting prey movement based on trajectory and speed. It's said that their brain forms a 3D model of the prey's path, allowing them to intercept rather than chase. And they have 4 independently moving wings, enabling rapid turns, and they can hover, fly backward, hitting speeds over 50 miles an hour. And then they snatch their prey midair with spiny legs and these wicked mandibles, effective against mosquitoes, flies, and even other dragonflies. And their success rate's near 95%, making them the top apex predator in the insect world. Now, something else you might not know about dragonflies is they require perches for hunting and or basking in the sun. So if you provide them with millions of stems for them to stand on all summer long in a very diverse ecosystem that is, well, full of bugs and flies, you're going to probably have a lot of dragonflies to hang out all year. Now, we used to struggle with fly issues, but now that we have dragonflies every year, we just don't really have too many problems. Something else.
I'm going to stop mowing my lawn in the backyard because I'm going to start growing a bunch of dragonflies. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I saw this and it made me change my mind. My daughters are obsessed with dragonflies. So there you go. That's the father tie back in, and something you probably didn't know about the ecosystem around you. God bless all of you. Thanks for joining us for the program. Look forward to seeing you again on Monday. There's not going to be a Sunday sit down. We ran out of time with all the crazy stuff jumping on Alex Jones yesterday. So you can go watch that if you want to see it. And we are going to be doing the Timcast thing. So I didn't have time to do editing. We'll have one for you next week. God bless you. See you on the other end of the weekend, or I'll see you tonight.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.